Okay, welcome to my new van electrics. I'll start over here. So I just put in this cabinet with the drawer underneath. The fridge is going to sit on top here once I put it in. And then under here is my diesel air heater. There's a 240 volt charger over there, a little cubby hole so I can put bits and pieces in. And that seat actually sits flush against those two pieces of wood. And there's a small shelf here. Over on the right is where all the electrics live. The bed is sort of pushed back. Normally the bed comes up to here. I've just pulled it out a bit so I can get a bit of access. So I'll show you in here. So this is a 270 amp hour Century Deep Cycle AGM battery. This is the new circuit which I've built for looking after the battery and for doing power distribution. I'll go from the battery backwards. So we've got the battery coming in here. It then goes to negative and positive. So you've got a breaker, 100 amps, just as safety. And then down here, and I can also use that as a master switch if I want to. And then down here we've got the current shunt. So this has a little wireless transmitter in it that transmits details of what's going on in the system to the little LCD display over here. So you can see right now we've got negative 4.8 amps. That means the solar is putting in about 4.8 amps into the batteries. Shows me voltage and everything. And I can also turn the load on and off by operating a relay. You can see it says on now. That's not currently hooked up because I bought the wrong kind of relay. I need to get a continuous relay, but a continuous solenoid, but I actually got just a starter solenoid, so it gets very hot. So right now the solenoid is bypassed. Next, the solenoid is the small fuse box. This powers sort of the lighter load items in my van. Aux is for a little XT60 connector, you can probably see just there, where I plug all sorts of different things in. Like I've got an electric blanket and I've got a water pump for the shower and stuff like that. So that's just like a general plug. Then I've got fridge, fan and lights. And then here is the actual power distribution poles for everything kind of heavier. Anything that's about 15 amps or more goes through here, which is the diesel heater and the inverter, which is 1000 watts, goes through there, and the earth is earth for pretty much everything. Then we've got the CTEC charger. It's a D250 SA charger, and this will charge from solar, it'll charge from the alternator, and when the house battery is full, it will also trickle charge the starter batteries as well. So these two leads coming in here, the left one I think is for the alternator. Yes, it is, because it's got that big fuse there. And then the other one on the right is, with the blade fuse, is the solar coming in. So that seems to be working quite nicely. And I've also got the 240 volt charger, which I mentioned before, under the seat here. It's a 16 amp 240 volt charger, just in case I'm at a caravan park and I want to charge up quickly. That comes in as well, and everything goes through the circuit breakers, so it should be quite safe. And also, if I'm leaving the van for a long period of time, I can just push that button on the circuit breaker and disconnect everything from the battery, so there'll be nothing going on in the van. You can see I've got a big metal tie down point there, and also one over here. That's for securing the fridge. And I'm quite pleased with how this came out. So space obviously is a premium here, but I wanted to be able to access this if I needed to. So this piece of wood here sits on top, sort of like that, and the bed's on top of that. And then I've attached the inverter to this piece of wood, and I've put some brackets on the edges, so they sort of clip over the edges of these pieces of wood, and it just sits on top. It leaves a bit of a gap here and then a gap here, so if I'm away, and then the fridge sits on top of this to hold it down. So the strap, well, not the strap, but the fridge sits on top and then it's strapped down, so it's not going to come out. And then one good thing I quite like as well is that with the fridge in place and this in place, there's still enough space for me to get my hand in here. I can change fuses if I need to. I can push the or activate the breaker if I need to. So yeah, the access is not too bad. I can see the lights, for example, on the C-Tech charger if there's any errors or anything like that. I can access fuses, for example, this fuse over here, and also the fuse for the diesel heater, which is down there somewhere. Yeah, so that just sits on top. What else have I done? Oh yeah, so we've got cable management looms going around the back here to keep everything nice and tidy. 240 volt power over to the side here, and then I've got some of the control panels down here. So this is for the diesel heater, haven't played with that yet, not quite finished. This is for the shunt we talked about already, and then this is for the inverter. So I can actually turn the inverter on and off remotely by pushing the power button here. You can hear that's turned it on, and it shows me wattage and what voltage it's getting and so forth. So useful. Or I can turn the display off. Actually, both of these I can turn the display off on, so I haven't tried this one yet, but I think I probably can. So that way at night I haven't got too many lights in here. And yeah, and I'll show you the drawer as well, how that looks. So it's a nice big storage drawer. I'm probably going to use it to put clothes and stuff in and bits and pieces. So yeah, really looking forward to having the extra storage under there. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the fridge in place. So the fridge is strapped down with some ratchet straps on both sides. It's very solid, doesn't move anywhere. And the bed is back in place where it should be, covering everything up, so all the electrics are hiding under here. You can kind of see one of the cables there. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how it came out. So that's where the driver's seat sits and everything. And you can see I've got quite a bit of little shelf space here. I can stash things in there. Oh, there's something I forgot about. A few little bits and pieces from the... Oh, that's the fridge cable. I haven't plugged that in yet. Yeah, and so if you want to get in the fridge, you still can. Sit on the bed, open this up, and it's just high enough that it doesn't want to stay up, but I'm just going to use a little rubber band for now, like that. That'll hold it in place. I might get like a magnet or something eventually, but that'll do for now. And then you can, get in there and get whatever you need. So yeah, it's coming together quite nicely. Thought I'd show you a little bit more about how this little current shunt meter works. So it's rigged up so that everything goes via this in and out of the battery. So if you've got a load on the system, say the fridge is running, and you've got power coming in from the solar, the power from the solar will go to run the fridge before it goes into the battery. So effectively you can have no current going in or out of the battery and still have everything running, assuming you've got enough solar. So to show you what that looks like, right now I haven't got anything on. The solar's running. We're putting 1.75 amps into the batteries. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon. And if I turn the fridge on, so now the compressor is running. You can see now it's got a positive value of 2.1-ish amps. So what that means is that the 1.7 amps from the solar is subsidizing the draw from the fridge, because the fridge probably draws about 5 amps. So what that means is that effectively we're only pulling 1.5 amps from the battery. The rest is being supplied by the solar. So now I'm going to start the engine and we'll see what kind of power we get now. There we go. So now we're putting in from the engine, or from the alternator, we're getting about 17 amps into the battery, Keep in mind the fridge is running, so that means that the fridge is probably pulling about 5 amps. We should be getting around 20 amps from the alternator, but that's minus the load. So again, if I turn the fridge off now, you can see that the amount of power being put into the battery goes up. So 20 amps while we're driving is pretty good. What I'll do with these control panels is I'll actually print a cover, 3D print a cover, or maybe just make one out of wood, I haven't decided yet, to cover this hole, and then I'll put a little bit of ducting between the outlet of the diesel heater and the piece of wood, and you can put on here a swiveling outlet so you can direct the air in different directions. So I'll put one of those on there, and I'll have, each control panel will be in the corner, so that way then they're not just sort of sitting on the floor. But for now, it's pretty late on the Sunday, so I'm done.